Well, there's a sunrise back there. It's well and truly up. Not a whole lot of color. What is there is a little bit obscured by the clouds and my palm trees. This is Stevo's backyard. We'll do Stevo's backyard devos today. There's the porch, a little bit of color, because I can't do my normal location, South County Park, due to circumstances that are beyond my control and don't really matter. In today's one-year Bible reading, let's go Old Testament with the prophet Hosea. Hosea was commanded by God to go and marry a prostitute by the name of Gomer. Go away. So he does, and they get married. They have 3 children. They have some pretty unusual names, like some of your children, or your grandchildren for sure. And then Gomer decides to return to a life of prostitution, even after she's had this great, stable home life with, it's straight, it's normal. She goes back to prostitution. What? Who would do that? That didn't really happen. I'll tell you, the organizations and missions that work with sex-trafficked people will tell you there's a high recidivism rate. It's very hard and challenging to reorient and redirect these victims' lives into a normal, what we would call a normal lifestyle. So that absolutely does ring true. Talk to Rafa House, for instance. They'll tell you that. And anyhow, she returns to a life of prostitution, and she sinks so low as she's finally sold into slavery. And then God tells Hosea, I want you to go back and buy her out of slavery and remarry her, so to speak, or bring her back as your wife. And he does. He pays the slave price, buys her back, and says, now look, you stay with me. You be my wife. We're going to be husband and wife together. So that's the happy ending to that story. And of course, all of this, although it actually happened, and this was a real person's life, is illustrative of God's relationship with the nation of Israel. And God created the nation of Israel. Israel, so to speak, was the bride of God, and Israel constantly sold itself into slavery and went back into idolatry, which as far as God was concerned was spiritual adultery and spiritual prostitution. You find that throughout the Bible and throughout the rest of the book of Hosea as he makes the application of Hosea's life. But God loved Israel so much, he bought that nation back out of slavery and prostitution and said, come and be loyal to me. I love you. Let's have a life together. And that is not only true of Israel, that's the picture of our relationship to God as well. God has loved us. John, in 1 John that we've been reading today, says, it's not that we loved God, it's that God loved us. God called us, God sacrificed for us, paid the blood price for our salvation, redeemed us out of slavery again and again and again. Think how often we have sinned against the God who loved us. Oh, we don't even like to think about it. We have not been faithful to God, but God has been faithful to us. Now, that's real love. 1 John is all about love. How powerful is the love of God, and it is. So that's very comforting. It's very comforting. As unfaithful as we have been, God's faithfulness and love for us overcomes that. It's like that old song. Maybe it doesn't go exactly like this, but it would be something like this. He's a good-hearted man in love with a good time and gal. He loves her in spite of her wicked ways that he don't understand. That doesn't even rhyme. All right, I'll give that up. I had to give it a shot. Anyhow, God loves you, my fellow Gomers, and so do I.